Here we go. Number 13, the Darkness to Light Godcast. Thank you again, those who are tuning back in. Very much appreciated. And much to talk about, and just now it kind of feels like almost not enough time to talk about it. It's a fascinating period that we're in just now, within the vortex and within my work. Myself and the team, and I suppose absolutely the inner circle as well, the people that are getting round about it, which is expanding every day. That's interesting to watch how that's unfolding. You know, the people that are getting round about this work, getting round about the programme, getting round about this intentional way of living. And the mission kicked off on Sunday, which is awesome. We're moving. Started off in Dundee, brought to Ferry. And it was what a day. I mean, all the way up, I was driving up, kind of cursing, whatever it is that's in the sky. There's kind of cotton wool balls all the way up. Just the sky was filled in all the way up. It was messing with my chi a wee bit, and we got to Broughty Ferry fairly early, and beautiful place, really, really nice. Never been there before. Was probably hoping for possibly more numbers, and for whatever reason. In terms of even the sign-ups, and maybe it was the way we kind of tried to market it and put it out there. So the response was okay. The way these things normally work is the amount of people that sign up for it, there's normally between a half and 2/3 that show up-ish. That's kind of normally how it works. And it was the same again on Sunday. We ended up with, I think, with 50 people, which, with the exception of one person, every single one we'd never met. They'd never been around about the work, or had never met me, and I'd never had the honour of taking them through this process. So that was great, getting some new people around about it. I met some incredible human beings. Thank you so much to those of you that took the time to come and get round about it. The weather was absolutely incredible. It was fascinating. I had a laugh again. It was one of the ones where you're driving up and you're the sun's been forecast and you're hoping, and it was almost as soon as the mic gets switched on, the sun seemed to come out. It was you couldn't make it up. Of all the many events that I've done now, I think there's only been one time it's been it rained properly. The last time up in Portobello was a wee bit. It was touch and go, but we managed to kind of dodge our way through it. But Sunday was just incredible. Managed to find a wee bit underneath the kind of castle to the right hand side of the beach, looking onto the sea, and out the wind. And it was a brilliant experience for me to go. It really felt a wee bit different this time. Now we're on the road, and I've spoken in the past about how back probably a couple of years ago. Maybe a wee bit longer than that, then the kind of desire and the need almost to stand beside somebody when I was doing these things. So if I was going to do these events, it'd be maybe with Heal Scotland, or I'd be going to kind of push the Wim Hof method. And now it's a vortex, and it's me. And Sunday morning before I left, I was so grateful, for that opportunity, for this opportunity within this work, to be able to do what I'm doing. The thought on early Sunday morning driving up to Dundee to a beach full of strangers, that as many as they like could turn up, and then be able to take them through this experience that I've been sharing for a long time now, but the way that it is just now and the way that I'm doing it, just an absolute honour, to gift it to people. And we saw it again on Sunday, we did. And whether everybody gets it, I don't know. What I do know is that everything gets better. What I do know is that the people that come with an open heart and an open mind and go through the full thing, a lot of the time without falling asleep, which is absolutely something that happens, when you switch off your nervous system and you get into parasympathetic nervous system, kind of rest and digest, possibly for some people for the first time in their lives. Then people can crash out and they can miss it. They can fall asleep. So it's hard to say when there's a group. Even that was a decent sized group, 50-ish people. I think the most we've had is just under 200. I think by the time we get to Loch Lomond, I'm hoping we're going to get through that. I've been thinking about a couple of hundred for the last couple of years now, and it'd be nice to do like a proper big event, maybe 300, 400, 500 people. That'd be awesome. The thought of everybody kind of sitting, in the intentional breath, and then sitting in meditation, and then in the water together. So you know, that group, that size of group was again, the numbers are always perfect. Always, I know that. You know, you feel the people that they show up and the ones that turn up, and even the people that run about it at the side. There was 3 or 4 people. They had the kind of banners up, and there was 3 or 4 people just interested in what it is we were doing. And you know, it's just fascinating to see who it attracts and who shows up and who gives their time up to come and get in about it. And then, even though there's not really, it's kind of strange because there's not really the personal. You don't really get that kind of personal, obviously the connections and the stories, and you can see where people are. There was a lot of tears, as there always is. There normally is. And in the events, the last 2 or 3 we've done, that there's been loads of tears, and that's to be expected. It's certainly something that I look for, you know, to give people a bit of space and find some relief, and give them an opportunity to get up, you know, whatever it is that they're carrying, the stuff that can be holding you back. And you know, as I say all the time, no all tears are tears of sadness. There's all different types of tears. When I was leaving on Sunday morning, it was tears of gratitude, you know, literally just kind of really so grateful for what was going to unfold in that day, and it brought me to tears. Happened again this morning in meditation, you know, when you sit in that field of the divine, a lot of the times it can bring me to tears, just like an overwhelming, I suppose that the emotion and the vibration of what you're in, can be a wee bit too much for the human body to deal with sometimes, and it can manifest in tears. You know, so that's great, and you don't ever need to know. I certainly don't need to know, you know, what people are getting from it. That's not the intention. The intention is to offer the opportunity to come in and learn some really, really kind of profound tools and techniques and make things better. And you know, whatever comes up for you at your stage of your journey and what you're going through, that's really, you know, that's a private matter, isn't it? Unless somebody asks you, unless somebody specifically says, look, here is what I'm dealing with, and ask for your advice. Apart from that, you know, people are going through their own thing. Very difficult to give this to anybody. You know, and my intention is just to give the opportunity for people to get round about it that are drawn to it, and if they come in and get through it, then what they get, that's between them and, you know, their journey and their path and God, you know, whatever they're doing and how they're making their way through it, that's their own journey. You know, so the day itself, you know, the lessons that we learned, it's definitely now, that's probably 3, 4, 5 we've done now, just with the Vortex over the last wee while, the kind of bigger groups, and we're learning all the time. We're learning how to get it to more people. We're learning how to, you know, I suppose, structure the session, which has been evolving over the last, since 2017 it would be, so the last kind of 6-7 years. That's been evolving to where it is just now, because there's so much information that I'm trying to basically get in there. There's loads of different things and different ways, and the intention is to help, you know, so you've got all this different stuff that's coming through and you're pulling from. And there's, I suppose, an end goal in terms of where you would like people to get to. And there's a really kind of relatively short period of time. It was the best part of 3 hours, including the cold exposure on Sunday. You know, so that's not really a lot of time, you know, to take people from, you know, whatever they're walking in as. And it's very interesting as well, like a free event, you know, where people, number one, they don't know who I am. You know, they're basically seeing it from like probably a Facebook ad or something on Instagram, or it's been shared. And they're coming in and they don't know what to expect, you know, and they might think it's just for, you know, to learn how to breathe properly. They might think it's just to, you know, a wee bit of cold exposure. And, you know, this is where, you know, again, for me and what I'm doing and the way that I'm doing it, you know, within 5 minutes, you know, once I'm telling my story and I'm talking about, you know, what the intention is with that session, you know, that in terms of the reconnection back to the divine and the kind of purpose of, you know, meditation, what meditation is and how to get there, and, you know, my own life experience with all of that, you know, the devotional path and God and, you know, spirituality and all that kind of stuff. A lot of people, I believe, don't expect that when they come in. And most of them stick about. There's never really anybody gets up and leaves. I've had 1 or 2 in the past, but everybody stuck around on Sunday and saw it through. And it was, for me, it felt like a really kind of, it was a powerful session. The sessions are always different, how they come through, how even with the music, you know, and the way that the breath work is structured, there's not really any plan with it. There's a general kind of, you know, teach the kind of fundamentals, how to functionally breathe, how to breathe properly, absolutely, so people can leave with, you know, that gift of breath work. And once we're into relaxation, that's different every single time. And then once we're into meditation, again, we'll get to the same place, but how we get there in terms of how I use the breath work is always different. I believe that's because of what's in the group and and where I am that day. There's not one real specific way. There's different ways you can teach breath work. And me with the intentional breath, the intention is to reconnect back to the divine. Eventually, that's where we're going. So how we get there's many different roads to get to that place. And Sunday was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. It was really powerful. I get some incredible hugs at the end. I managed to speak to a couple of people at the end, and a few people shared some stuff with me, which was nice. Getting to meet people personally and kind of see where they are, and also seeing the work and what it does to people and how it helps them. That's the most important part. When I'm driving up there on Sunday, that's always the intention. We're going to try and help people. We're going to offer them something that's going to make things better. And that's it. Anything else that comes after that, because of course there's obviously the awareness that we're trying to get the vortex out there just now. There's awareness we're trying to push this proactively. We're trying to get it out to the world and get it to people to try and help people find relief. Because after seeing that on Sunday, and then as busy as it's been in here this week, this is Wednesday, I'm recording this. I've been dipping in and out the circus the last couple of days and watching what's going on within the world, and seeing where people are and hearing and I'm talking about there's one or two leaders that I'm watching in terms of people that are significant folks within the social media entertainment industry. And watching, how these people are guiding them. Russell Brand, he's the one. I saw him again with his wee cowboy hat on. God bless him. Russell Brand, the Christian, which is interesting. I'm fascinated by that. Someone with the way he spoke about spirituality and God, and obviously the yoga stuff in the past, and then the switch, to becoming a Christian. I'm intrigued by that as to why he's done that. I don't really believe a lot of the stuff that he says. I still see him, he's an actor, and there just doesn't feel something right about this. There feels like there's an agenda as to why he's doing it, and you just need to see the stuff that he's talking about. It's he is, he's pushing people like Alex Jones and it's just fascinating. It's fascinating when I watch somebody like him, and again, the wee snip that I caught, and I try to stay away from it as much as I can, but I can't help it. I've almost got to look at it to see what's going on and what he's doing. And I watched him talking about, the horrors of the world and how, all this stuff. It was Julian Assange, and it was, talking about America, and he mentioned Trump, and he's obviously talking about like Jones and Rogan and just watching it, and I'm tuning into it, and then at the same time, within probably 15-20 minutes, I came across old Mr. Hoff on another interview, and him, rattling on, about how they're trying to kill us, and what they're trying to do to us, and they're trying to make us sick, and I'm going, aye, okay, right, I get that. I remember Wim talking about that when I was in his house back in 2017. He was talking about, taking down the pharmaceuticals and, doing away with the school system, and really kind of powerful words. And the challenge I've got with the whole truther thing, and people like, I suppose, Russell Brand, he's probably the most vocal just now. He's too vocal just now. He's command of the English language, and some of the way he does it, he's like a jester almost, like a kind of wizard with his language and the way that he manipulates. The way he communicates, very interesting. Well, an interesting human being he is, and his journey of where he was and who he became, and all of that stuff. It is fascinating to watch. And the challenge I've always got with it, when they're talking about how bad it is and what they're doing to us and how they're trying to make us sick, we know all that, but always it's, for me, what is the solutions? What's the fix? How do we fix it? How do we make it better? That's what it needs to be, because we understand the law of attraction. We understand where you're putting your focus, where your attention is, what you're thinking about, how you're feeling, what you expect to show up, which they absolutely know. That's the thing. They absolutely know. One of the things I saw Rogan talking about was the possibility of the conspiracy stuff with the moon landings and the amount of information that Joe Rogan has, and way way back. I watched him a long time ago, many years ago, going back 7, 8, 9 years ago, and he would be talking about all this stuff, you know, and just watching how he now navigates his way through it. You know, these people, these prominent people that are leading the masses, you know, you just need to look at the amount of people, not just their followers, you know, on their channels, but the amount of clips and the amount of shares and the amount of people that share their work on. These are huge influencers in so many different ways. You know, what they say and what they put out there, people are taking it on board. You know, they're taking on board whatever Russell Brand says to be it. And also, Wim Hof's the same. You know, people know, anybody close to me knows how I feel about Wim Hof and the Wim Hof method and who he is as a human being and the person that I sat with and the man that I got to see and you know, it's challenging for me, you know, when there's one, I suppose, you know, it's a projection of them, you know, the circus version of them that the public sees and this message, and then there's the reality, or the real them that you get to see when you see behind the veil. And so many people are in ignorance, you know, so many people are lost and looking for answers, you know, and then you look to they two in particular, I suppose, you know, and you see, you know, what they're offering in terms of how we fix it and how we get the world back to the way that it's meant to be. And there's no solutions in it. There really isn't. I don't see any solutions. You know, they're talking about the problems. They're talking about, you know, why it's broken, who's doing it to us, what they're trying to do to us, and that stuff itself. Just being aware of that, you know, just taking that on consciously, you know, just taking that into your being and you know, allowing to rest in that. It makes you sick, you know. It makes you sick, you know. And also when you're focusing on all the stuff that you're talking about. Many believe, you know, when you look into the law of attraction, that it basically, you know, it makes it bigger, you know. So when you're focusing on something you don't want to happen, there's a fair chance that it's going to show up, and that's just, you know, when you can see the way that they're doing it and you can see the information they're putting out, along at the same time, you know, like, right, okay, how do we fix it? I hear what you're saying, I hear how bad it is, but how do we make it better? And that's the challenge that I've got with so much that's online just now. So many of the teachers and the information that's out there. There are so few solutions. There really aren't. There's no many people really getting to that place that I believe that we need to go to. So this Godcast is called the Solutions. That's what it's called. What's the solutions? How do we fix it? How do we make it better? We know how bad it is. We know how much. You know, the world is broken and how many people are suffering and struggling, and so, you know, we are where we are, but we need to make it better. We need to fix it. So how do we fix it? How do we make it better? And this is where, you know, I'm thinking, you know, where are the solutions? Who else out there is talking about the solutions? Joe Dispenza put I haven't watched this yet, but there's a new documentary called Source. And that to me is the only solution, you know, going straight to the source, you know, going to the divine, and that's the thing that fixes everything. The rest of the stuff, even all the tools and techniques and modalities that I'm teaching, they're with a specific intention to get to that place of enlightenment. That's the plan, is to experience the divinity that's inside every single one of us. But, you know, in terms of what you need to do to get there, and I heard myself talking at the weekend, and I know what it sounds like, you know, and I can see how people are some of them are perceiving it when I'm talking about God and spirituality. And, you know, with that stuff, all of that stuff, you can talk about it till you're blue in the face, and I'm just hearing my throat just now. I'm talking way too much just now. It's many hours every day just now. So apologies, the Miracle Honey's no far away at any moment just now. So I suppose the way that it's unfolding for me just now, and the way that I'm seeing it, and the way that I'm putting it together, and the way that it's being structured, there's certain things that we really need to do to get to that place. There's certain steps that we need to take to get to that place, you know, of, you know, as I'm seeing just now in the groups, the Vortex group in the morning time, it's 5:30 every morning now, so there's a meditation at 5:30. We're all sitting, unification, you know, in union, in the field, in that divine space. Absolutely beautiful, you know, the experience are coming through, but it's the experiences that are changing it for people, because I can talk about it till I'm blue in the face, but until you actually sit and you can feel it, then you get to understand it. You know, so how do we do that? How do we get to that place? What are the stepping stones to get us from wherever we are and what we're coming in with to that place of the ultimate freedom, which is a direct experience and realisation of all that you are? That's basically it. You know, the unit of knowledge of God. The direct experience of the divinity that you carry inside of you, that's what fixes everything. That's how we get the world back to the way that it needs to be. That's the solution. And anything other than that, is in the opposite direction. And that's why when I see the clowns in the circus, going in a different way and all the distraction that comes with it, it's just a complete distraction, I would say, by design. So the stepping stones are simple. I had a fantastic healing session this morning. I was at acupuncture up at one of my teachers up in Dunfermline, and you'll hear me talking about acupuncture on here a fair bit. That's one of those things, it's kind of like yoga, in terms of there's certain things that are fundamentals that have been about forever. Acupuncture is absolutely one of them. In terms of what it does for the energy systems within the body, how it rebalances the body. Me just now, that was at 10 o'clock this morning, and an hour and a half ago I could hardly speak. I was completely gone. Even now I feel a wee bit ropey. I'm still kind of reintegrating back into my body. It's really, really strange. Kind of what it does to your body and how it affects you, how you feel, and the benefits that you feel. Up today, I asked for my blood pressure to be checked. I've been looking into blood pressure and reading about blood pressure, and people talk about blood pressure. Obviously it's mentioned all the time, and I wanted to get Brian, who's my doctor. He's been a family doctor for the last 13 years now. I've not sat in front of a GP since 1996. The allopathic medicine model is not for me. So I was asking him about blood pressure and the Eastern philosophy and the take on it and how it goes together. And just fascinating to hear this information that's, I think it's like 5,000 years old. And where it came through, and how it was passed, down to us as a species, because you think about the energy centres within the body, these invisible, points that are inside the body at different kind of heights, and how, different lengths of needles and different ways you put the needle in, and how it connects different meridians within the body that affect, different organs and the balances between the organs, and through direct experience, I don't get sick ever anymore, and I used to be sick all the time, and a big part of that is absolutely the acupuncture and balancing the energy within my body. There's no question about it. And talking to Brian today, we're talking about again, and because of my fascination with the breath work and what the breath will do for you, the conversation get back to the same thing again. It's the nervous system, talking about the central nervous system, talking about the body's its need to get back into balance at all times, trying to get back to that homeostasis, and that's the emphasis needs to be on parasympathetic nervous system. So it's rest and digest. That's the whole thing, because everybody is in stress just now. That's kind of almost, I would say, a truth to say that. It'd be rare to see somebody that's not living in some kind of stress just now. There's many levels to it. It's like a spectrum, all the way, from the beginning of, just a wee bit and a wee bit uncertain, and kind of having to fight your way through it, having to, I suppose, struggle your way through it. The kind of the fight that goes with that, the stress that needs to be generated to make your way through that, all the way up to complete burnout and debilitating chronic stress, where it can literally take your life. It can cause all sorts of life-ending diseases in terms of heart attacks and strokes and everything else. So the balance of the nervous system is huge, and the solutions for anybody that's looking for them, the place to start, it's the most significant step you will possibly ever take in your life, is learning how to breathe properly. That's it. That's the one thing that, for me, if I was to have a gift to give to the world, number one would be union with God, experience enlightenment, and number two would be to teach people how to breathe with function, how to breathe properly, and what that'll do for you. It's a conscious process. When you make it a conscious process, it's normally unconscious because you're just doing it at all times. You're doing it when you sleep. You're obviously depending on the requirements, what your body needs, and it's an unconscious process, which, unless you know how it goes together, again, it's another one of those ignorance things. We don't know. So most people just breathe, the way that they breathe, and if you learn to, breathe in stressful situations when you're younger, if there's something significant happens and there's a stress response and you breathe in a certain way, there's so many learned kind of programs that go in at a really early age, and who's to say how we learn to breathe, why some people breathe through their nose, why some people breathe through their mouth. For me, probably a mixture of both, more dominant mouth breather, I suppose, mainly because I could hardly breathe in and out through my nose. I've got restricted airwaves in my nose, and my nose has been broken a couple of times at least, that I know of, and so I've always kind of struggled to breathe in and out through my nose. And I grew up, my entire childhood was basically the decongestion stuff, which I think are probably just steroids, the Vicks Sinexes and all that kind of stuff, which would work for half an hour and then it would normally be worse than ever. So I spent a lot of time up during the night when I couldn't breathe, the old blocked nose, which for anybody who suffers with that is an absolute nightmare. So I would be mouth breathing, and then now I know about mouth breathing. If you're breathing in and out through your mouth, and you're generating stress. So I think back all the way back to childhood, where I was up a lot of the time during the night with stress, and I didn't know what that was then. You'd be anxious and you'd be, a bit agitated, and it would manifest in a bad mood or whatever, and I can remember being like that as a child. And looking back now, if I was up during the night and I couldn't breathe and I'm breathing out through my mouth, and my diet probably wasn't the best either, in terms of the sugar and all that kind of stuff, then, me, looking back and thinking now what I see with these tools and techniques, I would love to have learned that as a child. If you learn to breathe, things like anxiety, even depression can be a choice. Like getting overwhelmed, getting the body's chemistry getting out of whack, which absolutely happens by dysfunctional breathing. The way the chemistry works within the body, if you get that out of whack between the oxygen and the carbon dioxide, then the body can very quickly, things like anxiety and chronic stress, and even all the way up to kind of panic attacks and even beyond that, just by the body's chemistry being out of whack. So that's something that as soon as a child is able to comprehend that, it's probably primary 1 or primary 2, but you begin with it and you teach them the benefits of nasal breathing. We are designed, human beings, we're designed, this apparatus is designed, the air is designed to get in and out of here, the oxygen is designed to get in and out through your nose. Patrick McFadyen, who I spent many hours with quite a few years ago now, maybe what was that, 3-4 years ago, 5 years ago maybe, and the time that I was learning, in terms of what goes on, the physiology within the body and all the benefits to nasal breathing, and how there's really only one benefit to mouth breathing, and that's to generate stress. And the thing that Patrick says, which is brilliant, he says that it's as ridiculous to eat through your nose than it is to breathe through your mouth. And he talks about how the number one cause of tooth decay is basically mouth breathing, not sugar. He talks about how it's impossible for the human body to reach its full potential in terms of how the organs, the brain and the vital organs, how they basically, how as you're growing, as you're developing, if you're breathing with stress, if you're breathing in and out through your mouth, then the body has not developed its full potential, which, when you think about, the amount of Waynes just now that are being diagnosed with all this, all this stuff, the amount of different ailments and conditions and that the doctors are chucking out just now. And I was driving home yesterday and I was thinking about, I heard about another child that's really struggling, and I've been given 3 or 4 different labels, as well as the recommendations of medications, and I'm thinking back to when I was a lad, when I was young. Here we go. But there was none of that. There was none of that. So you then go, right, okay, so what's changed? And the biggest thing, I suppose, is the age that we're in just now, this technology age we're in, with kids being inside, kids being on their phones, on their iPads, on their computer games. We didn't have that, so that wasn't an option. So if you think the stress that's been generated, can you imagine the stress? I can remember the stress being in primary school, sitting in those classrooms and literally just watching, the seconds tick by. It just seemed to like days, just watching that clock, but it was time to either get to the break to play football or to get home to play football and to get outside and to get my bite if you had a game of football that night, or you're going to be your pals. So we were actively, without even really knowing it, getting rid of the stress just through movement, getting rid of the stress by being out and playing football and falling and, cutting yourself and hurting yourself and then fighting with the laddies for the next street up and all that kind of stuff. It's like the body's sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic is designed to be used, but in a natural way. And the kids just now, the stresses that they're taking on board, the challenge with food is the thing that keeps coming up. The amount of parents, the amount of again, the parents don't know, so it's not their fault. But the amount of parents that basically cave in to the dietary requirements just because that's the only thing they'll eat. Which we had way back. I remember when chicken dippers came out, and Jill used to make these incredible, organic, handmade chicken dippers. And then when the chicken dippers came out, the mass-produced ones, I remember Sam, my boy, he went from he wouldn't eat Jill's, and he just wanted to eat, this stuff. And we let it go for a wee bit, and then it got to the point his diet was going to be even more restrictive. So very simply, we just stopped buying the chicken dippers, and he kicked off for probably a couple of meals. But it wouldn't be every meal, obviously, but it kicked off when he wasn't getting them. But then within about maybe a couple of weeks, it was back to eating, Jill's chicken dippers and enjoying them, and they were basically, so we took them away from him. What's he going to do? Go and get a job and, and buy them for himself? Ridiculous, So the parents need to take some responsibility. Diets and the food that we eat and how it goes in and how it basically obviously regenerates the body. I mean, that whole thing, you are what you eat. I mean, talk about something being literal. How can the body, how else can it regenerate except what you put into it? You know, when you think of the cells and the kidneys and the liver and, you know, how the body's processing and how it's regenerating and how it's repairing itself, that obviously comes to what you put into it, you know, the water and the supplementation and the food. The challenge we've got just now is that the food isn't food, you know, and for a lot of these children, the food is literal poison, you know, and it's making them sick. And that's something that, when you talk about crimes against humanity, you walk into these big supermarkets and you see what's available. I'm in a constant, not a constant state of alert, but I'm constantly watching Tesco's and Lanark. I'm just constantly like keeping an eye on it and trying to get more organic produce in there. Why? Because when it's grown organically, as a starter for 10, and that isn't the best. I mean, to have your own soil and your own land and your own, you know, clean water going into it and the right environment without the pollution that we face for the skies and for the, you know, everything else that's in the air, to grow that properly and to do it the right way, that's the best way to do it, obviously. So the supermarket stuff, even though it's branded organic, and the reasons for being organic is because when it's labelled as organic, you know, it's as close to the way that it's meant to be in terms of the food is obviously taking in the nutrients, whether it's from the soil, for the tree, for the sun, obviously from the water that it's taken in as well. It's supposed to grow in a certain way, and the nutrients that it takes in, you know, all the different minerals and the stuff that we need to regenerate us and make us kind of strong and healthy, that's missing, you know. So your only real chance is to go organic with that kind of stuff. All the other stuff that's mass produced and sprayed and it looks good, but it's no food. It looks good, but it's no food. There's a poem. It isn't food, and when we look at how many people are getting sick, and you look at the food that the people are putting into their bodies, even within the fresh produce, most of it's just lacking in everything. It looks like carrots, you know, it looks like potatoes, but you're actually to break it down and you know, the whole science on it and see all the different minerals and the content and, you know, the goodness that's in it, you would be surprised, I think, you know, there isn't that much. And that's before you even get to the frozen stuff and the kind of the ready-made dinners and the, you know, whatever else is. And that's even before you get to the fast food and the takeaways and all that kind of stuff. It still amazes me the amount of kind of young men, I suppose in particular, I deal with, that, you know, their whole life, you know, a cooked meal just wasn't a thing. It was fast foods and takeaway. And then you see them in their early 30s and the stomach conditions. I know some lads in their 20s that have experienced strokes even before COVID. You know, and you look at their diet and you look at, you know, how they've lived their life and that chronic stress, you know, just being switched on all the time. And it's no surprise as to why so many are getting sick. You know, so the food absolutely as a starter for 10 in terms of how you take away the stress. The body's ability to switch off the stress. This is where the breath work comes in. This is where the breath work is so significant. This conscious process, when you make it conscious, normally it's unconscious. When you make it conscious and you understand how it works properly in terms of how it's supposed to be nasal breathing, how your chemistry is supposed to be in a certain level of balance, you need oxygen coming in, but you also need that balance of carbon dioxide. It's so critical in so many different ways in terms of how it uncouples the oxygen from the hemoglobin in the blood, how you're able to, you know, how it's transported into the correct portions of the lungs. When we're mouth breathing, we're going to be breathing up to here. If you take a big breath in, you know, this part of the chest is going to rise up, and there's 36 or 37 branches to the lungs, you know, so where the gas exchange takes place is down, you know, down in the deep parts of the lungs. You know, it's like the upside down tree, you know, with the kind of big, the trunk and the limbs and the branches, and then right at the very end, the twigs and the alveoli, the kind of sacs where the gas exchange takes place. This whole area here is dead space, and when you're breathing in through your mouth, you're generating stress, and you're not getting any bang for your buck in terms of the life force that you're taking in, that inspiration, that breath that you take in. If it's only going to here, you're not really getting much benefit to it, you know. So, you know, we need the breath for everything that we do. Every single function that takes place within the body is able to happen, you know, between growing your nails and blinking and, you know, digesting your food and everything we need to do. It happens because of, you know, that taking this inspiration, that breath, bringing it in, and then whatever happens in there, the magic that happens in there, and then it's basically it makes its way towards energy, and then we can use it, to go about our day. So the ability to manipulate that for your own gain, the ability to manipulate that so that it makes you feel better. The power of the breath, the power of learning to breathe properly, and what it will do for every single area of your life, every single system within the body, every single cell in the body. When you think about dis-ease and illness and why we're getting sick, it's chronic stress, isn't it? It comes from stress. Compromised immune system, absolutely, and then chronic stress, that's what makes us sick. So if we can then go to the source, we basically go beyond all the ailments and all the, the labels and the names. As soon as I hear a kid with any one of those ailments, straight away I'm thinking stress. So what's the first thing we can do? How can we best help, that child or anybody to switch off their stress? And it's breath work. It's learning to breathe properly. And this is where the Wim Hof method, this is where when I hear Wim talking about, saving the world and what he's going to do with it. And I look at what he's selling, his method, and it generates more stress, and you're going, is it just me? Because that seems to be in the opposite direction. Cold exposure is fantastic, absolutely, there's no question about it, but again, that's a massive amount of stress. We're dumping in huge amounts of stress so that it gives the body the reset, you get hit with the kitchen sink, and then it takes you back into rest and digest. So you're bringing in massive stress, and it kind of switches you off and takes you back into, the way the body's trying to make its way through this insanity we're in just now, which is in a kind of homeostasis state. So that's kind of parasympathetic, rest and digest, slightly dominant. We still need the ability to switch it on any time, but because so many people are in that chronic stress, stimulated, sympathetic drive, fight and flight all the time, even when they're sleeping, the minute people don't sleep properly, so if you're struggling, if you would like, one of the absolute, one of the keys to your own well-being and your peace of mind and starting to go on a journey of making things better, then learning to breathe properly, that is absolutely one of the solutions. There is no question about it. It's how you're able to use the breath in different situations, the ability to see through awareness what you need. Don't need to switch on the stress. Sometimes you need to switch it on a wee bit. I had a situation at the beginning of the week where I could feel myself, I was out in the middle of nowhere, and it was actually a dog that approached Murph and the owner, and I could just feel it just didn't feel right. So at that point, I was able to switch on my stress and just kind of man up a wee bit and step up and just bring a different energy, because it was required for that situation. And then once it was done and dusted, then to de-escalate it and let it go. And both of those, abilities to get into different states, that came through the breath. Straight away when I felt that this individual, this being coming up, it was a big breath in and it was a gentle squeeze to just get a wee bit of good stress into my system. And then when it finished, it was like the emphasis was on the exhale and slowing it down. I did a couple of hums, sat for 5 minutes and did a couple of hums and just let it go. Again, once you've dealt with the stress, then you need to get out of your body. So learning to breathe properly, that's the starter for 10. Absolutely, and that feeds into relaxation, the ability to switch it off, peace of mind. Again, people think they're going to go and learn meditation and experience peace of mind, which is a bit of it, but it's not why you do it. So relaxation is what you want to do to get into kind of peace of mind and being in that restful state. The ability to switch it off. One of the best states you will ever get in is when you're not quite sleeping, but you're in that completely relaxed state. When you're lying flat on your back or even seated upright, and you're completely switched off and you can't think, but you're still awake. You're in that kind of space. It's a really kind of special place. It's a place where the inspiration can come through, where ideas can come through. It's a place where it's like a cross between almost like contemplation and meditation, where just so many answers can come up. And that's done through relaxation. That's done through literally turning off the body, turning off the nervous system. Again, by the power of the breath, being guided through that whole process. How to switch it off, how to give yourself a break from your journey, from the constant striving and trying to get there. You need to learn how to switch it off. We need to learn how to switch it off. If there's going to be any longevity, then it's fine to switch it on, but we need to learn how to turn it off. So relaxation is another one. And that's why at the weekend, there's definite stages as to the way that I do it. We learn how to breathe properly, and then after that, we're into relaxation. You leave there with a relaxation practice, you leave here with awareness and the ability to go, you know what, I'm feeling stressed just now and I don't like it. I do not do stress in my life anymore. I refuse to take on stress in any way. I don't accept it. It makes me ill. It makes me sick. I dealt with stress a lot my whole life. So now that I don't have it, I refuse to take it on board. And you can see the relief in people, when you start to use the guided language, and you take them on the journey, and things like, feel the word soften in the centre of your brow, and you can just see people, the stress that's contained in here. The minute you relax the brow, and then you can see the eyes begin to soften and the jaw, and then before you know it, you're down in at the jaw and the vagus nerve coming down, and then you're switching off the vital organs. Inside a couple of minutes, you can take yourself from chronic stress and dis-ease within the body back into balance, and back to kind of feeling good again, where everything becomes, okay, what is it? What do I need to do? What do I need to deal with? So relaxation absolutely is a huge part of it. And then from the back of relaxation, meditation is a place, off the back of the breath work and the relaxation, then it's straight into meditation. That's the solution. That's the one. I'm seeing it just now, and I'm loving it just now within the groups. The people that are coming in, the guided breath work, and they're really, really getting round about it. The combined vibration within the group is really exciting, and the new people that are coming in, it's through entrainment. They're being elevated. They're getting really kind of almost some of them are getting like fired out of a cannon into this. It's like deep water. It's really. It's fairly advanced in terms of the experiences that are being generated, the connections that are being made with each other, the presence that's being felt, in terms of the joy and the love and the appreciation and the gratitude, not just for each other, for yourself, for the divine. That's a really, really sacred space. And now the feedback that I'm getting, people that have been running about it, that's only been the second week, but it's been every single day. From crawling out their bed and cursing me, as to why it needs to be 5:30 in the morning, and one of the girls last night was brilliant, does that not seem too early? And straight away I'm thinking it's almost too late, and this is where, people coming in and getting, especially the programme, especially people getting about the work and really seeing what's involved in it, because it's not just about cold exposure and relaxation, there's many, many levels to it. So when people actually get on about and they see the daily practices, for the last 27 years for me, it's been between 3 and probably 4 o'clock in the morning. That's been my time to sit in silence and reconnect with the divine. So I had to push it back to 5:30 when I decided to do it every single day. And it's just interesting, people coming in and going like, as if you're off your head. Why is it 5:30 in the morning? Would it not be much better at night time? That was a question, which absolutely, it would be busier at night time. But, for me, there's a reason for everything. So the reason it needs to be early in the morning is because it's before the day begins. It's that silent time, when the world is still switched off and people are still sleeping. Even by the time it gets to 5:30, 6, you can hear it, you can feel the different, because I've been doing it early for so long, between 3 and 4 in the morning, nothing much happens. That is the space. If you're on a spiritual journey and you're looking for the time to find your answers and your expansion, your solutions, between 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning, and you should never really have to set your alarm. I've never had to set my alarm once to get up at that time, because you're literally dragged out of bed, you get pulled out of bed to go and sit in it. The question for me is I can either lie here and worry about it, or I can go and sit with God. That's been my way for a long, long time, for many, many years now. And every single time when I get up, it's the day then begins and you're into it. So the reason it's 5:30 in the morning, very simply, is because of that. It's that sacred time. And also, probably more significant, is you're setting your vibration for the day. To wait to the end of the day when the day has come and went, it's like madness, It's like the footballer going onto the pitch and being unprepared and then getting to the end of the game, and I suppose then you would do your warm-up at the backside. It's the wrong way around. We're setting a vibration for the world. You're setting your vibration for your day. You're setting your vibration and bringing the very best version of you for the breakfast table with your partner and your children, for your workplace, for whatever it is you're taking into the world. Even if you need to venture into the world just now, you want to be the very best version of you. So that's why it's first thing in the morning. You set your vibration. I would recommend it twice a day. That's how powerful it is. If you're struggling, it's absolutely twice a day. And the relief that can be found in that, once you start to experience it, people are now getting round about this, when they're getting round about this, and I'm explaining it, and then we're giving the experience of it. A couple from Sunday, they're like, I now understand what meditation is. I didn't know. I was just sitting with my eyes shut, and the purpose of meditation is union with God, union with the divine. That's what meditation is. So if that doesn't get you up out of your bed, I don't know what's going to, and, for me, the way that it has unfolded over all these years now, then it starts to go from your meditation practice, and you start to be able to take it into your day. Not in the beginning, possibly. The very start for me, I was, for a long time, in fact, at the beginning, you're between two worlds. I was in bliss in the morning time, and I'd walk into my business and I would be in piss. From bliss to piss, that's what it felt like. Just the stress and 70 wains that were more or less reliant on me. Certainly I was at the kind of top of the tree, which I didn't really enjoy. The stress that came with that, and I'd be sitting in meditation every morning for 2-3 hours sometimes, just blissed out, with the divine, unconditional love, and grateful and happy and joyful, and in that place of freedom that the soul yearns for. And then you'd walk into the office, and it would start, and that was you fighting all day. So eventually, you get to bring, that. Again, once the vibration raises, once you continue to entrain it and raise it up, then you can start to bring it into your life, into your daily practice, into your normal kind of waking states. That would be, that's the ultimate. You talk about the yogis. It's easy to do yoga. It's easy to meditate. Sitting under a waterfall. Easy to do yoga when you're in India, and the right foods and the environment. But it's a wee bit more challenging. When you bring it back here. It's interesting that I've heard a couple of people that just this last week that are back for retreats, and they're in this state of just absolute bliss. Away doing different, whether it's medicines or meditation retreats or yoga retreats, and then they come back to the environment. And it's easy to be a sage and enlightened when you're in that space. The minute you come back into that, and this is the training ground. This is a great teacher to see, whether you've mastered yourself or not. If you can then start to take, this stuff into the world. I watched myself over many years. I was basically I was surveying windows for many years, commercial properties for the councils, and I realised after about 10 years, this was a long time ago, that I hadn't road rage for about 10 years. And I was a van driver, so I'd be driving about in a van, and I would get angry fairly regular. And I realised, God, when's the last time it was actually a lollipop man, an old guy about 95, jumped in front of me, and I kind of went for the horn because he nearly took himself out. And I was like, God, when's the last time I had road rage? And that was the evidence of, the work and the practices that I'd put in over a long period of time, where things start to change in a really subtle way. And meditation, when you get in the morning time, when you're taking it, into your day, then everything gets better. And the solutions there, some basics I would recommend for anybody. Learn to breathe, learn to relax, learn to switch off, learn to sleep. Absolutely. Think about mouth taping and learning the benefits of just nasal breathing during the night so you can sleep properly. Absolutely. If you're not sleeping right, then it's not going to work. We need to learn to sleep properly. It's so important. I'm saying to the people that are coming through here just now, this is something I'm almost going to absolutely, you need to do this for me. You need to tape your mouth up. Please just try it for a week and see what happens. Because if you're not sleeping properly, you're up during the night and you're waking up, if you've got the sleep apnea, so you're up for the toilet, you're normally breathing in and out through your mouth, most people, so you're generating stress. That's normally the cause of it. So if we can basically tape the mouth up, clear the nasal passage by learning how to breathe properly, I would recommend the Pateco method, or Oxygen Advantage through Patrick McFadyen, to learn how to breathe properly. And getting yourself to sleep at the correct time, in the correct manner, with the correct stuff, not in your head, but I would suggest getting into your heart and your feelings just as you're drifting off to sleep. There's a whole process for that I use, so you can get into this state. Because the best day ever, it definitely starts the night before. So how you sleep, how you prepare, how you get to bed, what it's like as you're going to bed. What you're eating is so significant. Is your body digesting food all night? So when you wake up and you're shattered because your stomach's been basically, trying to digest whatever you wolfed down before you went to bed. So there's so many things that people don't know. Lying in Wi-Fi all night, having your phone beside your bed. It's in terms of the temperature of your room is massive as well. The airflow in your room. There's so many things that basically contribute to you sleeping well or not. And having the switched on nervous system and the chronic stress and overactive mind, that's the thing that's going to stop you from sleeping. So the ability to switch that off, to experience peace of mind, that's why again you go back to breath work. It all starts with the breath. It's the one thing that we all do. It's the one thing that every single human being, no matter what your belief system is, your skin colour, where you come from, what football team you support, we all breathe. And it'd be interesting to see, what the percentage is of people who actually know how to breathe properly. I would guess it's probably close to 1%, I would think. Even medical people, I've had the absolute honour of teaching medical people, which is hilarious with my education in terms of schooling. No the education that I got when I left school, the kind of self-development and basically learning because of this work. and watching them, you know, as a couple of times, and I've taken them through it and explained how the breath goes, and you can see them, and certainly one or two of them, you know, distinguished in terms of the field that they're in, and you know, how well respected they are, you know, and just them learning from me, like, why the breath is so important, and then the benefits of the breath in the human body. And you think of the whole medical, you know, that whole, whatever it is, that business, the medical business, and the one thing that we do, you know, and, you know, I suppose the lack of information, there's more now because of people like Patrick McFadyen and, you know, and the kind of this wave of light that's coming through just now over the last kind of 20, 30 years. But, you know, you think about how you make things better and what the body actually needs, you know, to get it back into balance, because if you get restored balance, it will start to heal itself. Then the breath, you know, and the thing is, they know this, they've known it for a long, long time. I remember when Patrick McFadyen mentioned the fact that, you know, the detrimental effects of mouth breathing, and some of the studies were over 100 years old, you know, so they've known this for a long, long time. The dentistry one, you know, in terms of the you know, how it affects the teeth, and how, you know, mouth breathing, what it does, and how it forms a jaw, how your jaw forms in a different way. This is information I've known for a long, long time. And that was a wee bit disheartening, I must admit, when I knew that, because I was in stress for the first, I would say, probably 45 years of my life. It's only really been the last kind of 6, 7, 8 years since I've learned to breathe properly, and the cold exposure as well, I suppose, since 2016, that I've really been, you know, had the awareness and the knowledge and the tools and the techniques to be able to switch off my nervous system, you know, so that I can be, you know, I'm still affected by vaccines, absolutely, you know, so there is still that there. But this just enables me to switch it off even before I come on here. You know, it was into the cold shower, a couple of minutes in the freezing cold shower, and it's just a wee dump of good stress, and that helps to calm down my nervous system so I can be present and, you know, do the best that I can on here. So, you know, breath work again, we need to learn how to breathe properly. It is such a gift. And we add all that together. You know, what's the reasons for doing that? You know, and that feeds into the tour. What's the point of the tour? Why are we doing it? What's the mission? You know, what are the solutions? What we're trying to give to people? What's the point of, you know, again, driving up to Aberdeen? We're going up for free. You know, we're doing it on our own time, you know, to spread this awareness and try and help people. You know, what's the end product? What's the end result? And it's all about reconnection for me. The entire tour is about reset and reconnect. And the tools and techniques that I'm sharing, the experience that I'm giving people, it's first and foremost to reconnect back into yourself. That's what it's all about. It's to get you from chronic stress and in your head and in worry and fear and separation, you know, to give people, you know, I suppose, it's no hope, you know, it's because hope is like a beggar man. You know, it's to give people faith, you know, that there's absolutely a way to get through it, because no matter what it is that you're coming in with, there absolutely is always a way. There's now documented miracles taking place, that the people that are healing from all sorts of stuff, you know, all sorts of cancers and things that you're not supposed to fix, through meditation and different, you know, there's all sorts of ways that people are finding miracles, you know. So the solution, the reset and the reconnect, for me, I believe the way that we need to do it to get it back to the way that it's meant to be, the reconnection needs to take place first and foremost within yourself. We need to switch off that stress, to get out of the circus, to get out of the zoo, to get out of the head, and get out of the mind, and then to bring it and reconnect back into yourself, back into your heart, back into your soul, back into that space within each and every one of us, the divine that we carry inside of us, the real you. You know, when I continue to ask people, do you know who you are? And people have no idea who they are. We are so separated from, you know, any even a concept of what we are as a species. There's so many lies. There's so much propaganda. There's so much, you know, misinformation out there in terms of even how we evolved. You know, how this planet evolved. You know, where it came from. You know, you look back to the. I'm looking a fair bit again into ancient Egypt again, which fascinates me, and the kind of Göbekli Tepe site. And the ancient information, you know, that goes back, you know, 10, 12,000 years, and some even more. And, you know, then you look at, you know, how it's been presented to us in terms of the realities of what we believe, like modern history and how it goes. So we don't really know. Human beings, we don't know. That there's so much being kept from us that we don't know. But, you know, the stuff that we do know, And the stuff that we do know that works needs to come through the experience of it, so the reconnection back in to the divine, back into the self. That's what I worked out for myself. I realised that because it was in me, it must be in everybody, and it fixed almost, I would say, everything in me. It certainly got me to a place that I never thought I would have got to in this lifetime. So if it's in me, I'm just a guy that happened to take a long period of time to work it out. Then the question became, well, okay, what is it? Well, it's a reconnection back to the true self. It's a reconnection back into, that which is real, as Wayne Dyer used to call it. All the other stuff, it comes and it goes. But the essence that's inside of you, that spirit that you brought into this world, that's the bit that can never die. So to tap back into that, to reconnect back into that as a starter for 10, which is absolutely the plan. With every single breath work, every single session that I take is to reconnect back into you, so that by the end of the session, if somebody asks you, do you know who you are, you should be able to answer it because of your own experience, not because of something I've said, but because of your own experience. And the significant part of that, once we reconnect back in with the self, then the reconnection back with each other is dead easy. Because at the end, again, I saw it on Sunday, when people are out their heads, when they can't think, and they're sitting in meditation at the end, and they're in that heart space, in that intelligence of the heart, they're sitting in unconditional love, they're sitting in the feelings of joy and gratitude, complete peace of mind to the point where you can't think, and there's a combined vibration. It's like a vortex, there's a combined vibration of everybody sitting in that space where, literal miracles can take place. They really can. I believe that, when you bring in a different frequency, then things can get elevated in ways that are really difficult, almost impossible to explain or even comprehend with the logical thinking mind. This human mind only goes so far. And the stuff that we're talking about, where the mind stops and the intellect stops, just above that, that's the field, that's consciousness. We can't see it, but we can tap into it, obviously, because we come through it. And that's the way you need to experience it. It's done through your feelings. It's done through direct experience through your feelings. It's not done with the mind. So once the reconnection takes place with each other, things like hugs. I've had to say to everybody, right at the end, we always hug at the end, and there's hugs in the water as well. And it gets to the point where people don't want to stop hugging. I had some incredible hugs at the weekend, just a couple of people just broken with tears. It was absolutely beautiful. But, if I've had to say at the start of the day, like, everybody stand up and give each other a hug. For 50, you'll be down to probably 10 or 15 by the end of the hug, because we're so in our head. You can feel when people are walking in, that they're in their head, they're stuck in their stress and their own, challenges and their struggles and their life, even the good stuff, they're preoccupied. So when we stop that, when we switch this off, and then we reconnect back into the heart, and then reconnect back into the soul and back into the true self, and then the connection that takes place with each other, again, that's a massive step. That's a huge part of the solution. We need to rise as one. We need to reconnect with each other, absolutely, the way that it's meant to be. I do believe it was probably supposed to be, groups of people living in tribes and living off the land, the way that it used to be. Absolutely, there's no question about it. And now, thinking where we are just now, where the amount of times I saw it today, up in Dunfermline this morning, and just people walking about, on their phones. You walk past, you look in the coffee shops, or people on their cars, even on the motorway, and the minute people are driving and on their phones. Our entire world is just inward, and what that's generating and how it's making us feel. So again, we need to, the separation game, the separation from all that reconnection that I'm talking about, we need to bring it back. And once the connection takes place at that level, things like, the reconnection with the earth, it sounds a wee bit happy, and it is a wee bit happy. But the benefits of it, standing with your feet in the ground, getting into that sea as we did on Sunday, reconnecting back to Mother Nature is so powerful. It will heal. It heals so much in so many ways. One of the biggest challenges we face is because obviously the state the planet's in just now, and all the benefits that we should be having in terms of the plants and the medicines, the literal medicines that have been hidden from us. I saw a wee thing during the week talking about how modern medicine and who basically created it, and how the realisation of the plants and all that kind of stuff had to be stopped because it was making people better, and how they brought in all the different pills and the pharmacology and all that kind of stuff, and the intention behind it. So we in this planet, there's everything, or there was at some point everything that we needed, to maintain the balance and to be vital and to be happy and to be healthy. And that sadly is lost now. It's not gone completely, but it's absolutely, in terms of access to it, the holistic, natural path, the natural remedies that are here for a reason. again, how they got here, how they know the different ways and how they make us better. That's over like thousands and thousands of years. It's got to this point, you know, where we were able to use these different tinctures and medicines and herbs and food as a medicine. You know, food to literally heal the body. And you see where we are just now, at the opposite end of the scale from all of that. You know, it's again, it's another separation. You know, so the reconnection back to the earth, you know, and that conscious connection, again, standing with the trees, being one about the trees, getting your hands on the trees, feeling what the trees feel like, it'll change your life. You know, so that again, the reconnection at that level, the next step up for that is reconnection with God. That's the bullseye. That's the car. That's what we're aiming for, is reconnection back with the divine. And that's the full reconnection. Once you get through that, yourself, each other, Mother Nature, and then back with God, you know, the meditation practice and experiencing that, and then getting in a way that it's going to call you back so you want to do it again, and then going on that internal journey, you know, of self-discovery, to hopefully realise all that you are. Know who you are, but all that you are is very, very different, you know, to know that you carry the divine inside you. That needs to come through the experience. And that's the solution. That is my solution. That's the way. That's the way I do believe that we're supposed to be doing it. I believe that it's the way that it was meant to be. I believe it's the way that it was set up before whatever happened to get in the way to keep us from it. And it's the way that needs to come back to get the world back to you know, how it's meant to be. And that isn't easy. Of course it isn't. You know, we are so lost and so, you know, separate from the power that's available to us. People talk about snowflakes. You know, you think of these kids. I remember when they talked about it a few weeks ago, and they're still probably talking about it. You know, national conscription and getting kids into the army. You're going, oh my God, can you imagine it? You know, these kids that they can't do anything. You know, and then getting put into that environment, and to prepare them for war, to go and learn how to kill people. It's terrifying. It really is. It's there are so many challenges and so many fronts in so many ways that are trying to trip us up, that are trying to make us sick. I get that. I see it every single day. But you know, once you can see it, once you know where it is, and you know the problems that it causes, then it needs to be about the solutions. You know, so what are the solutions? And unless we reconnect back into the self, unless we reconnect back with each other, unless we reconnect in the respect for Mother Earth, I'll say it again. You know, that the 7 deadly sins. I believe man's biggest sin is what we've done to this planet. It literally breaks my heart when I see what we've done to this planet. You know, so the reconnection back to that and the respect for that, the environment we're in, you know, to think that we can sustain ourselves without that, you know, and the industrial age and what they've done to the planet, what we have done to the planet is, oh my God, God forgive us. It's hugely challenging. And then, you know, ultimately through meditation, the reconnection back to the divine, you know, sitting in silent meditation, going back inside. Why should you do that? Because, you know, meditation, peace of mind, and reconnect back in the divine and God and all that kind of stuff. When you tap into it, at a certain level, you can take on the power of it. When you get into spirit, when you become inspired, when you get into that flow state, when you feel it coming through you, then you take on the power of it. And that's something that's absolutely required just now. It's much needed by so many people. And again, because of ignorance, most people just don't know. You know, and religion and going to these organisations so that they can give it to you, I don't believe they can. No, I really don't. In fact, I know they can't. You don't get there. The kingdom of God is within you. You don't need to go anywhere to get it. You need to sit in silence, go inside and get quiet, and go on that internal journey. And every single answer, every single solution that you require is inside you. Your guidance system, what you need in your lifetime. Nobody can give you that. Nobody can tell you. That's why I don't give advice. I never ever give advice. Unless somebody asks me specifically about a subject, then I will say, here is my take on it. This is what I would do. But whether they take it on board, that's entirely up to them. You know, but your guidance system, what is it that's right for you? Which direction do you need to go? That's done through your feelings. That's done through your gut. You know, that's done through, you know, what is it that feels best? Because this in here, whatever this is trying to guide you in the right way. This wants to be right. The head wants to be right. The mind, the intellect, you know, the ego is always like the drama and the noise and just the bullshit that's been trained and learned, and so many are addicted to it as well, absolutely. But once we quieten this down, once we kind of learn how to switch that off, then to get back into this, you know, the heart and the soul and the guidance system, and feeling which way there is that you need to go, that can change your life. So there you go. That's the solutions. That's my take on it. That's how we fix the world. Very simple, but no easy. much resistance. The world is in a terrible state just now. There's no question about it. And I do believe the clock is ticking. I think they're fighting. The fight is on for our souls. It is absolutely darkness versus light. The good news for us is that light, that never-ending, that divine power that comes through, is inexhaustible. The sneakery of the darkness and the trickery of all that kind of stuff is too much work, it's too hard. And even though they might be winning in certain ways just now, I do believe the way the world is set up and what's celebrated, which it doesn't make me laugh, I'm not going to say that, it makes me sick watching it. The goodness and the solutions, and the possibilities to get it back on side, in terms of people reconnecting back to the way that it's meant to be, people finding relief, people finding their answers, people finding their own solutions in this lifetime. That happens within the light. All the other side is just misery and endless lifetimes of horribleness. That's the way that I see it. The amount of celebrities, you talk about them, them selling their souls, and you can see it is everywhere, so may God have mercy on their soul. I hope he doesn't. I hope she doesn't. Whatever consequences that need to be dealt out come judgment day, when you stand before God and they look at you, if they even get to that, maybe it's just straight to hell, which would be good enough for them. So the light, the divine, God, the solutions, the way that it's meant to be, the realisation that we are children of the divine, that we come into this world with spirit inside of us, we are separated from it through ignorance and lack of information and basically being shown the way that it's meant to be by design. The entire system is set up that way, so we need to bring it back. We need to bring it back soft and gentle, under the radar, so we don't upset too many people, which may be a wee bit of a challenge, but we'll see how we go. So there you go, onwards and upwards as one. We are going to be in Aberdeen this Sunday, which I'm really looking forward to. The team are up there already, Michael and Fern. They're up in Aberdeen. Numbers are looking really good, really excited to meet anybody that's going to be coming. Open heart, open mind, come in, allow me to take you through the experience, please. The intention is to help any way that I can, to share the stuff that I've picked up along the way. It isn't my way, it's the way. The tools and techniques are fundamental. It's my spin on them, I suppose. I've learned from some of the best in the world, some of the best teachers that have ever been in these fields of holistic well-being and natural practices. Whether it's the breath work or the meditation or all the different stuff that I've learned up along the way, all the incredible teachers that I have been absolutely blessed with. And my intention is to be a bridge and a shortcut so that people can come in 2.5 to 3 hours and walk away, a different human being. Walk away with no stress, walk away with peace of mind, walk away with joy in their heart and unconditional love in their soul, reconnection and remembering who they really are, so that they can then go and take that back to their house, take it back to their families, take it back to their workplace. And that's the butterfly effect. That's how we fix the world. It's one soul at a time every single day. I'm really excited to see those who are coming on Sunday. Please, if you do come, please say hello. Gratitude to you all for those who are continuing to tune in and watch. Miss Fern has asked me, which I feel uneasy doing this, but if you could please, if you feel like leaving a review or a comment or passing it on or sharing, please feel free if you want to subscribe. Apparently that's the way to go. Love and light from me to you and yours. Enjoy the rest of your day wherever you are. Peace out. For the greatest good always, onwards and upwards, and bye for now. Thank you.